Hi guys, welcome. I hope everyone is doing good. I hope everyone is celebrating the Deepavali festival with the fullest of energy and intensity. Now, all those students who have tuned in today, even in spite of all the celebrations and other festivities, I appreciate your diligence and your sincerity, and I can assure you that that sincerity over a period of time will pay you greatest of benefits. So again, with that appreciation, let us today discuss the most important issues of 13th of November 2023. Okay, the first issue is, as thousands of earthquakes rock Iceland, a volcanic eruption to follow. Okay, now what is this phenomena of earthquakes, and why is it that after earthquakes volcanic eruptions are most likely events? Okay, so before that you should have some conceptual understanding of what exactly is happening in Iceland. Okay, the news is like this: Iceland received around 800 earthquakes in the last 14 hours, and if we take the last 24 hours, Iceland received around 1400 earthquakes. And if we take the last 1 month, Iceland has received more than 24,000 earthquakes. Okay, now when you take Nepal, when you have heard about Nepal earthquakes, these earthquakes are very different, or whatever you learnt about earthquakes in Afghanistan. Okay, now these earthquakes are very different from what earthquakes you are seeing in Iceland. Okay, the reason is these earthquakes that you see in Nepal and Afghanistan have very high magnitude. Okay, their magnitude is almost 7.5 and or more, or you can also say 7 or more. Okay, whereas Iceland, these are earthquakes that are low seismicity or low seismic magnitude. Okay, and their greatest magnitude will be somewhere near 5. Okay, this is, when I say magnitude, it is according to the Richter scale. Okay, I hope you understand what is Richter scale. Richter scale basically measures the magnitude of the earthquake, and if you take the earthquakes in Iceland, it is mainly of low seismic magnitude. Okay, but if you go to Nepal and Afghanistan, it is high seismic magnitude. Okay, now what is the reason for this? The reason is very simple. One is, we should understand what is the difference between earthquake and earthquake swarms. So, to actually tell you the truth, in Iceland there is no earthquake, but there is earthquake swarms. Okay, earthquake swarms are series of low seismic earthquakes. Okay, there is series of low seismic earthquakes. Okay, the second is, there is no identifiable main shock. Like in Nepal and Afghanistan, there will always be one eye shock. After that, there will be aftershocks. Okay, that eye shock is followed by, or the main shock is followed by aftershock. Correct. So like that, in earthquake swarms, usually there will be no main shock. Everything will be of very low seismicity. Okay, that is, it will be less than 5. Okay, and the next is, usually the swarms are followed by volcanic eruptions. Okay, and these earthquake swarms are basically, why are they followed by volcanic eruptions is because the magma flows close to the surface. Okay, so I hope you got the difference of what is happening in Iceland. So in Iceland, to tell you the truth, it is earthquake swarms and not earthquakes, and these earthquake swarms are nothing but low seismic earthquakes which are having no identifiable main shock, and it is usually followed by volcanic eruptions because the magma flows very close to the surface. Okay, and these earthquake swarms are seen in Iceland, And if you have to get an clarity, this is not something new that is happening in Iceland. Okay, in Iceland, the average, on an average, Iceland will receive 26,000 earthquakes in 1 year. Okay, in 1 year, the total earthquakes that is received is 26,000. However, these are not earthquakes that you see in Asia. These are earthquakes that are mainly similar to earthquake swarms. Okay, now what is the reason for this? Okay, the reason is, see, what you should understand is earthquake swarms that we see in Iceland is mainly because of the diverging plates. Okay, and in Nepal or in Afghanistan, you are seeing earthquakes of high intensity. The reason is they fall in something called converging plates. Okay, so this is what is the difference between earthquake swarms and the earthquakes with high intensity. Okay, now since we are talking about Iceland, as I told you, Iceland falls in something called diverging plates. Hence, Iceland will see earthquake swarms. What does it mean? Let me elaborate with the diagram. Now, see, if I take this, let me just redraw it. If I take this as North America, okay, and if I take this as okay, so if this is Atlantic Ocean, now at this point, this is where the Iceland is. Okay, now Iceland is along a ridge. Okay, see, this is a ridge. The ridge moves like this. Okay, this is a ridge. Okay, this ridge is known as mid-Atlantic ridge. Okay, and Iceland falls on this mid-Atlantic ridge. Okay, now let me tell you how, let me give you a side angle of how it looks. Now if I take two plates, if you look at this, okay, and if I take this as the magma, okay, if I take this as a magma, now these are the ridges, okay, as you can see, there are tensional forces acting, okay, these are forces that are moving away from one another, so these are tensional forces. So when there are tensional forces acting, if this is North American plate and this is Eurasian plate, see, both these plates are moving away from one another. Okay, so when they are moving, are you seeing this? See, look at this diagram. This and this plates are moving away from one another. That is why they are called diverging plates. I hope you understood. These are known as diverging plates. So Iceland is located on this diverging plate. So this is let me just draw it in a different color. So this is where Iceland is located. Okay, now what happens? Look at this. If you observe the magma that I have drawn in orange color, the magma is flowing very close to the surface. Are you observing this? Now this magma, when it constantly bombards this particular part of the ocean, it creates fractures. Okay, this fracture that it creates is what creates the earthquake swarms. So the magma creates fractures and the fractures will activate what you call as earthquake swarms. Okay, now once earthquake swarms are created, once these gaps are very evident, what happens? Through this gap, the magma can flow outside. So that is why whenever there is earthquake swarms, after a while, after the earthquake swarms happen, that is now the gaps become very, very evident, and through these gaps comes volcanic eruption. Okay, that is why after magma creates fractures in the in the oceanic bed, these fractures will create earthquake swarms. After the earthquake swarms comes volcanic eruptions. I hope it is clear. Okay, to repeat once again the entire thing, what is happening in Iceland is earthquake swarms. Earthquake swarms are low seismic events that happen over a series of sequences. However, they are very low seismic, hence they don't create much damage. Okay, and this earthquake swarms is a very common entity in diverging plate boundaries. As I told you, Iceland will receive on an average 26,000 earthquake swarms in 1 year. The reason is, as you can see, Iceland is created over a mid-Atlantic ridge. Okay, and what are ridges? If you can see this diagram, okay, the diagram 1, okay, ridges are basically mountain-like features that are formed in oceans, and they are basically formed in diverging plate boundaries. They basically formed in diverging plate boundaries. Here can you see that the Eurasian plate is diverging with North American plate, and they are diverging because the magma is creating tensional force. Okay, the magma is creating tensional force. So this magma that is coming up like this, when this magma constantly hits the oceanic bed, it creates fractures, and that fractures are what will create earthquake swarms. Okay, now these fractures, when they become more and more wider, obviously the magma can flow through these fractures and they start erupting. So after earthquake swarms, usually there is volcanic eruptions. Okay, so this is what is happening along the diverging plate boundaries. Okay, so I hope you understood what is happening in Iceland. Okay, that is why Iceland is receiving 800 earthquakes in 14 hours, 1400 earthquakes in 24 hours, or 24,000 earthquakes in 1 month. All this means that they are not true earthquakes, they are just earthquake swarms. Okay, and that is why, see, once earthquake swarms are found, then a volcanic eruptions will follow. Okay, I hope you understood this concept. Now I'll just show you a few diagrams to give you a more conceptual depth and clarity regarding this. As you can see, look at this. Okay, now Iceland, the capital is Reykjavik. Okay, and as you can see, it comes in Atlantic Ocean. Iceland, along with Norway, Sweden and Finland, together are known as Scandinavian nations. Okay, so if I draw a mid-Atlantic ridge like this, see, Iceland falls over the mid-Atlantic ridge. Okay, so we can see this side there is divergence of Eurasian plate, and this side there is divergence of North American plate. Okay, whenever there is divergence of Eurasian plate and North American plate, the magma will create fractures on the ocean bed. These fractures will create earthquake swarms, and these earthquake swarms, later the fractures will become very evident, and earthquake swarms will be followed by volcanic eruptions. Okay, so you are going to see volcanic eruptions on either side like this. Okay, so with earthquake swarms, even the Iceland will experience volcanic eruptions. Okay, now let me show you one more diagram. Look at this. Okay, as I told you, observe the mid-Atlantic ridge here. The red color is the mid-Atlantic ridge. Can you see that the mid-Atlantic ridge is passing along the Iceland? And can you see the diverging plate boundaries? Okay, the North American plate and the Eurasian plate that are diverging along this ridge. Okay, so this again I am going to repeat, the fractures in the ridge will create the earthquake swarms, and post these fractures become very wide, there is volcanic eruptions. I hope this is clear. Okay, and this is mainly seen in diverging plate boundaries. Okay, it is very common in diverging plate boundaries. Okay, there is one more diagram. This gives you a realistic picture. Okay, you can see Iceland here. You can see the mid-Atlantic ridge going like this. Okay, so this is what is the issue that is happening in Iceland. Okay, now this is the end of this issue. The next issue is China's ICBC, the world's biggest bank, hit by cyber attack that reportedly disrupted treasury markets. Okay, again this is very important from internal security angle, so please make sure that you get a good knowledge of this. The China's ICBC, that is what is called as Industrial and Commercial Bank. Okay, it is known as Industrial and Commercial Bank of China. Okay, however this bank is present, one of its branches is present in USA, and it is this USA branch that is now hit by a cyber attack. and this cyber attack is a type of cyber attack that is known as ransomware. Okay, so you have heard of this ransomware. Remember WannaCry? Okay, that is one type of ransomware. So basically ransomware is increasing rampantly in developed nations, especially. If we take the entire global attacks, 46% of ransomware attacks are happening in USA alone. Okay, so this shows that wherever the technology is very widely used, ransomware is becoming one of the most important ways of cyber attacks that is taking place. Then what exactly is ransomware? Okay, ransomware is a malicious software. Okay, so it does two things. Okay, one, it will either block the access to your data, or the next is it will threaten to leak your data. Okay, so it can block or it can threaten to leak your data. In either case, it is going to only allow you to get back your sensitive data if you pay a ransom. Only by paying a ransom can you retrieve back. You can retrieve back your sensitive data. Okay, so this is how ransomware works. So I hope you understood what exactly is this ransomware. Okay, now this becomes a case study. Okay, China's ICBC. This is the largest bank for industrial and commercial industrial assets. Like this bank was attacked by a ransomware, and that ransomware's name, the name of the ransomware that this bank was attacked was Lockbit 3.0. The names are important for prelims perspective, hence please have an idea over it. Lockbit 3.0. Now one more thing you should know is Lockbit. Okay, this Lockbit is a group. Okay, it is a group that sells malware. That is, malicious software is known as malware. Okay, it is a group that sells malware on the dark web. It sells malware on the dark web, and it is the same Lockbit that is responsible for over 1,400 attacks globally, and this accounts to almost $100 million. Look at this. This is very huge, and this group is becoming more and more threatening to the world as we become more and more digitalized. Okay, as I told you, ransomware itself attacks 46% of USA globally. 46% of the attacks through ransomware is happening in USA if we take the global attacks. That is again huge. So this is one of the case studies that you can write in your internal security. Now, as you know that USA is becoming a victim of this ransomware, they have now started an initiative. That initiative is known as International Counter Ransomware Initiative. Okay, it is known as International Counter Ransomware Initiative. Okay, again it is an alliance that started as a 40 country alliance, but now there are 50 country alliance in this, and India is also part of it. Okay, so this is something that is started by USA, and this is basically to stop the ransomware from spreading and to stop groups like Lockbit that proliferates rapidly in the dark web space. Okay, so this is what is the news. Ransomware is important from prelims as well as mains perspective, so please keep an eye on that. Now some other ransomware that has made news, some other names of ransomware that have made news is one, StopCrypt. That is one other ransomware. As you know, another one is very famous is the Lockbit, the very infamous one is Lockbit. The next is Black Cat, and the last is Mimic. These are all ransomwares or malicious softwares that are present in the dark web that can attack our digital ecosystem. Alright, so this is about the ransomware, which is important because cyber security as a topic is very important for your mains as well as prelims. Okay, let us go to the next issue then. The next issue is time to give Model Code of Conduct a statutory backing. The Election Commission's Model Code of Conduct has been in use more for its violation than for maintaining the sanctity of the election process. Okay, what this article tells is the Model Code of Conduct, that comes into force during elections, it has failed to prevent the following things. 1. Fake news. 2. Paid news. 3. Hate speech. 4. The misuse of social media. Okay, so these are the 4, these are also recent trends that have started to come up, and the Model Code of Conduct has failed to prevent these 4 aspects. That is what the author talks about in this article. Okay, so however, you should understand or have a very good clarity of what this Model Code of Conduct is all about. Okay, so if I talk about MCC, these are set of guidelines. Released by the Election Commission of India. That is one. Now they are released under the Election Commission of India's powers under Article 324. Okay, so Article 324 says that Election Commission of India has the power to supervise and conduct free and fair elections. Okay, it has the power to supervise and conduct free and fair elections. Under this broader powers of Article 324, ECI, that is Election Commission of India, has issued the guidelines in order to make sure that the free and fair elections are ensured in India. Okay, the next is, when will it become operational? It becomes operational when the date of election is announced by the Election Commission of India, and it is going to stay till the result is announced. It is not till the end of elections, but till the result is announced. So I hope you got the difference. It is operational from the date of announcement of the elections by the Election Commission of India till the result is announced. Okay, now if I have to talk about the evolution of MCC, it all started in 1960 in Kerala elections. Okay, in the Kerala elections, the Model Code of Conduct was first enforced, and this was again replicated across India in 1962 Lok Sabha elections. Okay, in 1962 Lok Sabha elections, this Model Code of Conduct was enforced throughout the country. And then in 1991, the Election Commission of India decided to enforce MCC strictly. Okay, in 1991 it decided to enforce the the Model Code of Conduct very strictly. Okay, so now you got to know 2 things. One, you got to know what exactly is MCC and what is the evolution of MCC. Okay, I hope this gives you a little clarity of what Model Code of Conduct is all about. Okay, now what does the Model Code of Conduct have within its code? Okay, these are some of the important parts within the Model Code of Conduct that you should know. One is, it talks about prohibitions. Okay, that is, it prohibits caste or communal speeches. Okay, it talks about caste or communal speeches. And 2, it also talks about targeting candidates on unverified facts. So 1, they cannot spread animosity between caste or communal sentiments. That is the one thing that is prohibited. The second is, you cannot target candidates on unverified facts. You have to use some verified facts in order to criticize someone. That is the first aspect of Model Code of Conduct. The second thing is about meetings. Whenever you have to hold a meeting, you have to inform the local police. You have to inform the local police about both the time as well as venue. That is the second aspect of Model Code of Conduct. Now within the Model Code of Conduct, you have processions. Okay, in this 2 things. 1, you cannot burn effigies of candidates or political parties. You cannot burn effigies of candidates or political parties. That is 1. The second is, if 2 candidates or if 2 political parties are holding the procession on the same route, then before the procession there has to be in advance a contact that is done to make sure that there is no clashes. Okay, so this is about the procession. So one, prohibitions, you got to know that should not be any caste or communal hurting of sentiments, and next, the targeting of candidates should not be done on unverified facts. Meetings should always be done with prior information to the police about the time and venue. The processions should not be resulting in burning of effigies, or two candidates must always contact in advance if they are using the same route, so that there is no clashes being done. Okay, now on the polling day, okay, all authorized party workers, the authorized party workers who are going to stay near the booth to just observe whether it is carrying on fair and the conduct of elections is fair. Now those party workers should be given badges as well as ID cards. Okay, they must be given badges and ID cards. So on the day of the polling day, the authorized party workers should be given badges as well as ID cards. The next is observers. Election Commission of India will appoint observers. Okay, and any candidates who have any type of complaint, must contact the observers and give them they must address their grievances to these observers. Okay, the reason is these observers are the ones who will make sure that everything is running in an ordered manner. Okay, any type of grievances should be going to the observers by the candidates, and they themselves should not take any action. That is one of the another essence of model code of conduct. The next is party in power. To tell you, this is one of the most important point for enforcing the model code of conduct. Basically, model code of conduct, it helps in realizing level playing field. Okay, it helps in realizing level playing field. The reason why we say level playing field is the ruling party will always have extra power to use its its position to create favors for it from the people. So to stop misusing of the power, the model code of conduct has created several provisions. The first is the ministers should not combine official visit. They should not combine official visit with election work. Okay, so the first one is the minister should not combine official visit with election work. The next is the ruling parties must not advertise with the help of public exchequer, that is public money. Okay, so you should, the party that is in power should not advertise its political agendas with the public exchequer, nor should it use the official media, nor should it use the official public media for its political gains. Okay, I hope you understood this. The last is the ministers or the government should not announce any plans, programs or grants. Okay, now these three provisions will create a level playing field to the opposition party or the parties that are fighting with respect to or with regards to the party in power. One, the ministers should not combine their official visit with election work. They should not advertise with public exchequer nor use official public media to advertise their electoral gains, or advertise advertise via the media to get electoral gains. The last is they should not announce any plans, programs or grants. Okay, this creates the level playing field amongst the parties that are in power and parties that are fighting for power. The next is the election manifesto. The election manifesto should be having the promises that are made in the election manifesto, they must have a type of rationale. You cannot just promise anything out of thin air. They should always have rationale in promising within the election manifesto of any political party. Okay, so these are the 7 important provisions of the model code of conduct that applies for political parties as well as the candidates. To just summarize, prohibitions, it prohibits caste as well as communal speeches that will spread hatred. The next is targeting candidates on unverified facts. Meetings, prior information to the police regarding the time and venue. Processions should not have burning of effigies of candidates or political parties. The next is polling day. The authorized party workers should always have badges and ID cards. Observers are always appointed by the ECI. Any grievances by the candidate should go directly to the observers so that they take a decision on these grievances. The party in power, ministries cannot combine their election work with their official visit. They cannot advertise with the help of public exchequer, nor can they use official media in giving their or taking their electoral gains. The last is they cannot announce programs, policies or grants that will create an unfavorable condition for parties that are contesting against this party in power. The next is election manifesto should have promises that are rational and should not irrationally promise unnecessary things. Okay, so these were some of the important provisions that are present in the Model Code of Conduct. However, Model Code of Conduct does not have statutory backing. So the question comes, should MCC have a statutory backing? Now, what you should understand is there is no statutory backing for MCC. The second is whatever provisions are there within the MCC, these provisions are invoked. These provisions are invoked via IPC of 1860, CRPC of 1973 and RPA of 1951. So in RPA also you have some corrupt practices and these can be invoked via MCC. So these are the three provisions through which MCC is made effective by the Election Commission of India. However, there is in 2013 a Parliamentary Standing Committee on Personnel that has advised giving MCC a statutory backing. Okay, it has advised giving MCC a statutory backing and it has told that MCC must be put under RPA of 1951, and by putting it under RPA 1951 it gets its statutory status, and this is what was advised in 2013 by the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Personnel. However, now there is one more aspect to it, that is Election Commission of India. Election Commission of India advises against this. Okay, sorry, it advises against giving statutory backing. The reason why it is advising against this is because the election window usually occurs within 45 days. Okay, if you give statutory status, that will result in a legal delay and because of legal proceedings taking more time. So when legal proceedings take more time, that will result in electoral delay, and this can create a huge problem for fair conducting of elections. Okay, that is why ECI advises against the statutory backing. So what should we do, or what should be the way forward? The way forward should be, even if a statutory backing is given to MCC, there should always be a window to close any type of cases so that the legal delay should not result in electoral delay. If there can be a mechanism that can be set up, if there is timely addressal of grievances via the judiciary, then only then MCC must be given statutory backing. So in a way, both the perspectives are solved. That is, the perspective of Parliamentary Standing Committee of giving the statutory backing is also done, and the ECI's skepticism that it may result in electoral delay must also be taken care of. Okay, so I hope this is what is ECI and this is what this entire aspect is about. I hope you understood this concept. Okay, and I hope it was helpful. Please make sure that you keep making notes of whatever I tell, so that over a period of time, when we keep covering the issues in 1 year, okay, you would have covered almost 900 issues, and these 900 issues are more than sufficient both for your prelims and mains. Okay, the idea is to improve incrementally. Imagine when you have read 900 issues, you have not only read about the current affairs aspect of it, you have also read about the static part of it. You will be as strong in your current affairs as with your basics. This is how we improve not only in your current affairs as well as your basics. All right. So I hope it is helping you, and I hope if this initiative has helped you in any way in your UPSC preparation, please like, share, and subscribe, guys. And one more good news is another 40 subscribers, and once we reach 2000, I'll be releasing the TNT series. I was actually waiting to be released in the festivals of Deepavali, but we are still yet to reach that mark. So once we reach that mark, TNT series gets released. All right. So with that, I will see you tomorrow, and thank you so much for tuning in. And again, appreciate the dedication and diligence of all my users. Give a round of applause to you guys. See you tomorrow, guys. Bye.